TV. I'm excited to have you join me with this episode. It's Are You Making Excuses? That's a big one. It's always a big one for everyone. And I'm excited to be able to go over some different tips and some tools. Before we get started, I want to just invite you to join the All Things Possible community. Go to our website, allthingspossible.biz. Again, that's www.allthingspossible.biz, and join in with us and get those 7 traits. I teach 7 traits to create your thriving life, and it will take you up and over the top. You can have immediate results by implementing these traits and getting to the bottom of things in your life that could be different. It's about changing you, not everyone around you, but changing you and taking yourself to the next level. So join those 7 traits and really see the abundance come in your life. So let's get in and talk about this. Are you making excuses? You know, we go with little children and they're just so honest, right? When they first start out, little children are very honest, and that you say, did you do this? They're like, yes, or, I spilled, or however that is for a small child. Usually they just blurt it out and it's okay. Then they start to learn that maybe it's not what they want to tell you, and so they start to say, oh, brother did it, or oh, sister did it, or I didn't do it, wasn't me, right? And they go into that stage of always blaming someone else and always come up with an excuse, even when it was their fault. Well, let's take this to adulthood. All of us make excuses at some point, and all of us have times in our life when we are our own worst enemy, when we are enabling ourselves to be held back from our full potential. It's not because we don't want to be productive or we don't want to have the success of that achievement, but we are finding ways to enable us to be held back. Let me tell you about my son. Go with me back to 1995. I have my oldest son is 9 years old, and we're in the middle of a really bad year. He has been diagnosed with cancer, has a brain tumor. And at this point, he had lost tons and tons of weight. He had started out at about 115 pounds and was now about 67 pounds. He lost 67, I think he was 68 pounds. Anyway, it was traumatic. He was like a little skeleton. And for a couple of months, we had tried everything. Everything that was his favorite food, everything we could possibly come up with. We'd go buy breadsticks. We'd go, Little Caesar's breadsticks was one of his favorites. We'd go do all these things. He'd still throw up. He'd still lose weight. We were doing everything we could to help him to gain weight or maintain and not lose any more weight. He was so sick. And the whole time we were trying to avoid a feeding tube. We didn't want this tube taped to his face, up his nose, down to his stomach, and we felt like that was humiliating and it was going to be so hard for him. We didn't want to have to go through that. So we were trying so hard to keep him from doing that. Milkshakes, eat every 2 hours. Like we were making tons and tons and tons of effort, putting in all this effort to save him from the feeding tube. Well, after all the effort and after all the stuff, it came down to he did lose 67 pounds, was now 68 pounds, and it was time for us to do life different. He was given a feeding tube. He had to be on the feeding tube for 12 hours a day. It ran all night. But guess what? It was the best thing that happened. He had to be on it for nutrition. He had to balance out and maintain his weight. And for 6 months we had this feeding tube, and it was a major pain. but it was the best thing for him, for his health, for his nutrition. And the whole time we were our own worst enemy. We're no feeding tube. We're not doing this. Can't do it, right? Don't want him to look bad. Don't want, that image. We don't want to go through the hardship of getting up all night every 2 hours to check the feeding tube, right? It's easier to clean up throw up, right? It wasn't that we weren't having challenges or we weren't going through hard things. We just didn't want him to have to go through that feeding tube part. That was a big issue for him. He was 4th grade. There's an image to protect there, right? At 4th grade? Well, there was an image to protect as a mother, too, to feel like I was taking care of my child and that I was doing everything I could. I was cooking constantly, everything that would taste good to him. Of course, cooking constantly when I wasn't in the hospital. Remember, that was the year we spent 180 nights in the hospital. So you can see the whole vicious cycle we had going. The best thing that we did is got out of our own way. Finally got the feeding tube, got out of our own way, and the feeding tube nursed him back to health, got him on a gaining weight, and started him up the scale on the other side. I love to use that example because so many times we are busy, we are active, we are doing things, and they're not working. And what's happening is we are in our own way. We are our own worst enemy. Most of the time, when we come up against a very difficult situation, and it's something that we don't want, we then do everything that we can in our power to avoid it. So what do you have in your life that you're making excuses about? I've had people start to give me stories about their children. Their children are not well behaved. They're throwing a fit, or they're having difficulty with them staying on their bed, or they're doing all these other things. What I can tell you is that you first need to look at how you're parenting. Are you the enabler? Did you choose not to parent for a long time and now we're changing it? It's going to take some time. Yes, change it because it needs to happen. But you need to look at the source. We need to be willing to step back and look at exactly where we are and what result we want versus what result we're having. And somewhere in that middle is where the excuses are being played out. I've had parents tell me, oh, we've been doing this or I've been doing that. But then when they're on the phone and they're just like, go away, don't be by here. When it's, I don't want to deal with them, and I don't, that's when the child decides that the behavior can be accepted and that it's going to be tolerated, right? So besides parenting, where else can this show up? So much of the time, we tend to blame others. Now, if you watch my show very much, I call myself out all the time. And this is one of those where even in my business, I start placing blame of like, oh, did the assistant get it out on time? Did the emails get handled? Did I do my part? Or am I giving it the brush job off to someone else? Is it because get the video edited? Is it because the email didn't go through? What am I using as my excuses? And am I placing that blame on others? Now, placing blame will never move us forward. It's making excuses. And as long as we make excuses, we stay stuck. When we can accountably look at what's happening, what the result is, and what we want the result to be, that is when we can actually make progress. Is when we are willing to be accountable for our actions and for ourselves and stop making excuses. Now, a lot of people feel like that what they're doing isn't excuses, and yet it is. In fact, right there, you just saw me go wobbly because I had surgery again on my foot, and I'm not supposed to be standing on it, and I'm trying to stand on one leg, and so I'm not very sturdy. So here's my excuse. My leg is not 100%, and it doesn't sit very good on a bar stool or a chair. So I'm standing on one leg, okay? I could have taken the right precautions to do this correctly, and I didn't. So when you see me wobble and move, my excuse is my leg, right? And it's true because I do have a problem. I do have a situation, but I could have handled it differently. I could have come down here better prepared before I filmed. Now that's something I want you to look at. Are you making excuses when you really don't have to? You could have done it differently. We'll take another one that I have, that I try really hard to be on time. I don't like being late, and I like to be on time to everything, and I like to be my word and keep my word. And I feel like there's a lot of integrity to that. And for us to have personal integrity, we have to have those kind of things in place. So when I'm not on time, am I looking at, oh, my husband wasn't ready to leave, or I'm waiting for my daughter, or I was already going to plan on doing my makeup in the car, I've been waiting for you, right? What excuses are we using? Because really to be on time means that I'm early. So if traffic is bad, if things are that are out of my control get in my way, I'm still able to compensate for that. So if it's important for me to be on time and have my integrity, then it's important for me to leave earlier, to plan. You know, it's been said over and over, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. You've heard it probably a dozen times. And it's true. If you don't plan how you want it to be, you're going to fail. Many of us with the new year and with everything that's going on, make resolutions and make goals for this new year. How many of you had several things on the list that were there last year? When I ask that in a group, majority of the hands are like, yep, working on the same stuff, or at least several on the same list. So did you lack to set the goal, or did you lack to plan out how you were going to accomplish the goal? Because that's where it comes into play. When we stop making excuses for why it didn't happen, okay, we stop saying, well, the diets I went on didn't work. Okay, so if the diet wasn't working, change the plan and plan something new so that you have great results, rather than be like, oh, well, it didn't work. Because then that's just an excuse. When we plan how we want to do something and we follow through with that plan, it gives us better integrity, but it also aligns us better for other things to work as well. When you plan out your day, right down to, I'm doing this and this and this when I get up, and then I do this and this and this, so by the time I get to my computer and I'm working, I've done my exercise, my positive information that I've been reading, I've had my meditation time, I've done my vision board, my declarations, maybe you've exercised and showered and gotten ready. So by the time you're actually at work, all these things are accomplished. Well, now I have a home office. So what happens on the days that I don't do those things? What happens when I'm on my computer at 7 a.m. and then I go into conference calls, and at 1 o'clock I am still in my, my jazz pants or my jammas. Okay, that's okay if that's how I plan that day. If I continue to make sure that the plan is in place and it's being executed. It's not okay at 4 o'clock when I have clients showing up and I am frantic to get dressed. Because then I got carried away with Facebook or on emails and I didn't get my stuff done, and now I have face-to-face clients and I am not ready. Okay, we have to plan how we're going to do our things. How we're going to get things accomplished, and balance that with, what do I have to do for my family, for my spouse, for myself? Where does my self-care come in? Where do my plans of having quality time with those I love, where are those? And are they allotted in your time frame? What are your important meetings? And is there time set aside when you have face-to-face clients or you have face-to-face things at your job? Are you ready for that? And are you prepared? When I go into a mentoring appointment with a client, I've reviewed their file. If I don't plan that extra time to review the files, make sure homework's checked, make sure things are done, am I as successful with that client? No. So it has to be in my plan. It has to be important. Are you missing deadlines? You know, when we tend to miss deadlines, number one, we haven't put a priority on it. And number two, we haven't planned to be successful and to execute what needs to happen. And what that comes down to usually is procrastination. Now, procrastination is not good at all. Absolutely across the board, procrastination does not work. And what I can tell you about it is if you're procrastinating in your life and it's consistent, it's showing up everywhere. You're putting off everything possible to the very last minute. How do I know that? I've loved to be a procrastinator before. Yeah, the end of the quarter, guess what? I entered the whole thing in QuickBooks. Now you can say, I made a plan. Absolutely. I schedule out and block out 2 days for taxes at the end of the quarter. That's not the best plan. I'm absolutely the first one to say that's not the best plan, and I always pay my taxes on time. I've never had an extension, but I do still wait until the end of the quarter. And for me, it's worked, but eventually it gets too inundated and it doesn't work. What we need to do is find a plan that does work so that we're not waiting until the deadline. We're not waiting until last minute to get things done. It's so much better to have a plan and be like, oh yeah, I've already purchased the stuff I need for the next, event that's coming up. Everything's got its place. Everything's in order. Those kind of things make our life a lot better. And then we don't need excuses. When we make excuses, guess what everybody else hears? Blah, 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 blah. Do they really care? Most of the time not. And when your excuses outweigh reality, when you always have an excuse as to why you didn't make the deadline or why you didn't do what you said you would do, when you make excuses for not keeping your word, or you're making excuses with yourself, blaming it on someone else, what I can tell you is your life is not working in the way you want it to. So stop being your worst enemy. It doesn't have to be that way. Yes, you can take your expectations and set them at a place that actually can be something that can be executed. If your expectations are way too high and you're making way too much for yourself to ever be able to accomplish in the first place, all you're going to have is frustration and overwhelm. If you put it where it needs to be, where it keeps good flow and you can handle it and you can balance everything that you have to where it's, I'm doing this right now I'm doing this, and then I can move forward to do this. When you have realistic goals and you have realistic ideals of what you want and how you're going to do it, when you have an action plan, you can eliminate the excuses. You can stop being your own worst enemy. I told you the story with the feeding tube. The thing we avoided the most for the longest time was the best thing that could have happened. It helped him more than anything else. He started to gain weight and muscle. He started to, balance out, stop throwing up so much, and had more energy, felt better. We fought it forever. And yet, it was the best thing that could happen. Even though we didn't want it, even though we tried to avoid it. So what are you avoiding? What are you trying not to do? And is that the best thing? Now, there's some things that I don't agree with. Like, if you're avoiding bankruptcy, keep avoiding it. Like, be honorable, stand up to your debts, do what you got to do. But at the same time, look at your life and decide, am I avoiding something that is the best thing for me? Because so much of the time we place the blame in other areas and other people, other things, other circumstances, and we don't take a realistic look at what we need to do, how we need to do it differently. And I encourage you to really take that deep look, that deep within yourself look at your accountability, your punctuality, what you want to accomplish, and your success at accomplishing it. Are you obtaining what you really want? Are you becoming who you want to be? because you should be seeing success. And as you're seeing success, you should celebrate success, because the more you celebrate success, the more successful you are. I'll say that again. The more you celebrate success, the more successful you are. It's a given. And once you start to appreciate it, see it, recognize it as a celebration, as an accomplishment, then you start to become it, and you do it more often. I mentor with a lot of clients, and one of the things I give them is making a list of accomplishments, and that is one of the hardest things that they have to do. Most of them are like, oh, I couldn't get past this many. And I'm not going to tell you how many that is, but if you want to see if it pushes your buttons, start writing down your accomplishments. Because in our society, we've been raised to be like, oh, hush, don't say that we're a good person. Don't do anything good. Don't recognize yourself for anything that you're doing. And that's wrong. Because when we do good things, we need to pat ourselves on the back. In fact, I've gone in my kitchen, cooked dinner, and been like, ta-da! I just cooked your whole dinner. and it's funny. I like to be silly. I like to have a good time with it. So do a ta-da moment. Celebrate your accomplishments, big or small. Celebrate them. Make sure that as we have gone into a new year, as we've gone into the new goals, new resolutions, whatever that was for you, I encourage you to have declarations. And if you haven't, go back to the video before this, the episode before this on declarations, and learn what's the best way to do those. But I encourage you to take a good look at what you have decided you want to do. First, put it down on paper. Second, evaluate it. Is it possible? Put a time frame on it. And let's use a time frame that actually is something that we can achieve it in. Let's not be unrealistic, yet let's not hold ourselves back. Realize that things can come to us in an abundance of ways. We have to allow that flow and allow it to come to us as we reach for new levels in our life. I love having you here with us. Make sure and subscribe so that you're getting these videos, you're getting these free trainings, you're getting the things that we put out there, as well as I want to invite you again to go to my website. It's www.allthingspossible.biz. Again, that's www.allthingspossible.biz. I want you to join our group. Opt in, get the 7 traits, and check out the website. There's a lot there for you. I'd also like to invite you to have a free strategy session with me. You need to go to the Contact Us button on the website and send me an email of, I would like to have a strategy session. And I would love to be able to help you in a few minutes. Recognize something in your life that you could do different and some way that you can move forward. I'm Kris, and I love to make a difference for other people. Thank you for joining us this week, and let's stop looking for excuses. Let's stop making excuses. Let's start being productive. Let's not be the enabler or our own worst enemy. Let's be our biggest cheerleader. Let's look for our success. Let's plan our success. And let's move forward in a way that we are our best self. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time here on All Things Possible TV. Bye-bye.